Chapter 21 My Family Actions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing this, the faces of everyone present changed drastically, especially Zhao Yunji, whose eyebrows were slightly furrowed, with a hint of anger and worry in his eyes. This matter started because of her Zhao family, or to be more precise, because of her Zhao Yunji. Now that the Zhou family is facing off against the Ma family, she is naturally involved. Now, even though the Zhao family has joined the Zhou family, which is also a foundation-building family, the Ma family still does not intend to give up, which is enough to show their determination to pursue this matter to the end. This is an extremely dangerous sign, especially for the Zhao family, with the strong strength of the Zhou family. Even if they face the Ma family, they may not suffer too much. But the Zhao family is different. Today's Zhao family is already weak. If it is attacked by the Ma family again, it is likely that it will be completely annihilated in this war. Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai's faces were also extremely ugly. I originally thought that after the Zhou family came forward to protect the Zhao family, the Ma family would hold a grudge at most, but there was a high probability that it would be impossible to declare war directly. After all, 2 centuries-old foundation-building families were involved, and the impact of a direct declaration of war would be too great. Zhou Daocheng's eyes flashed with thought, and he asked tentatively, "The Ma family has such a tough attitude. Are there other reasons?" The second elder, Zhou Chongping, also had worries in his eyes. "I don't know, these things in the family are all in charge of your uncle. I don't know how he thinks about it." As a family elder with a long-term vision, he does not want a war in the family, which will seriously affect the subsequent development. Many people are skeptical about the family head's decision, but over the years, the family head's decision has made the family prosperous and accumulated a lot of prestige, so most people still choose to believe it. The second elder let out a long sigh and then said, "I am here to remind you that even if you are in Balan Lake, you must always be vigilant to avoid being attacked by thieves, especially Daocheng and Yunji. If the Ma family is cruel, they may attack you." After hearing this, the 2 people couldn't help but tense up and think a little more. Before the 2 of them could think about it, the second elder Zhou Chongping continued, "Don't take it lightly, remember to keep this in mind. The store that Dodge is in charge of has been attacked by the Ma family before. Not only did the income drop, but also the weapon refining the transportation route of materials has also been targeted by the Ma family, and the losses have been considerable in recent days." "What? Dodge was attacked?" Zhou Daobai's expression changed drastically when he heard this, and there was obviously a hint of anger in his eyes. He clenched his fist tightly and slapped it on the table so hard that the tea spilled on the table due to the vibration. "Don't be angry." Second elder Zhou Chongping scolded, holding down Zhou Daobai and saying, "The way of cultivation, remember to restrain your emotions. If you have this kind of mentality when encountering trivial things, how can you go forward in the future?" Zhou Daobai took a few deep breaths, then calmed down his emotions, and said angrily, "Does the Ma family really want to go to war with us? How dare you be so arrogant? It's just a small confrontation. Don't be surprised." Second elder Zhou Chongping explained, "It has not reached the level of killing or injuring others. Besides, there are family members here, so there is no chance that something will happen to Dao Qi, so there is no need to worry." Although he blamed Zhou Daobai for being impulsive, the second elder Zhou Chongping was still very moved. It must be a blessing for the family that the younger generations of the family can care about each other. It would be a real misfortune if Zhou Daobai and the others looked gloating and complacent after learning that their competitors had been attacked. "Daobai, Daocheng, Yunji, the second grandfather is here to remind you not to be careless and be more careful on weekdays. If the Ma family really finds this place, the main thing is to protect their own safety, and they should always talk to you on weekdays." Family connections. Balan Lake is too far away from the family. The 3 of you must take care of each other to avoid accidents. The second elder Zhou Chongping talked a lot, and his concern was beyond words. And at the end, he took out 30 kilograms of spiritual rice from his storage bag and gave it to the 3 of them. Zhou Daocheng repeatedly declined, but the second elder had a tough attitude and failed to live up to his good intentions, so he finally had to accept it. These 30 kilograms of spiritual rice must have been purchased by the second elder with his own salary. It is of extraordinary significance to support the younger generations of the family out of his own pocket. After explaining this, the second elder Zhou Chongping rode away alone with the hunting team and began the hunting life for this year. The three of them, Zhou Daoqing, also kept the matter of Xia Ma's family in mind, and couldn't help but feel a little more gloomy in their hearts. Sixth brother, the people of the Ma family have ulterior motives and may be planning to do something secretly. The island you are on is far away, so you need to be more careful and contact us from time to time. Zhou Daobai looked over and said seriously. Zhou Daoqing nodded solemnly. Brother, don't worry, contact me often in the future and be more careful. The three of them exchanged a few words and returned to the island. Along the way, Zhou Daoqing felt a little heavier. It's just that it's not their turn to worry about the disaster the family is currently facing. The most important task now is to manage the White Scale Lake Station and avoid causing trouble to the family as much as possible. After returning to the island, Zhou Daoqing first cooked a bowl of spiritual rice, and ate a few pieces of first-class low-grade side dishes brought from his family to make up for the shortfall in his stomach. Then he went directly into the underground cave and started Wutu Kunyue, the practice of Gong. In this cruel world of immortality, strength is the foundation of everything. Without strong cultivation, no matter how many ideas you have, you will not be able to implement them. As the Wutu Kunyue Gong operates, Zhou Daoqing's aura becomes stable, and the thick Wutu spiritual energy circulates around him, lingering with earthy yellow light spots. However, the comfortable training time did not last long. White Scale Lake, surrounded by the southern peak, a group of 6 people, with calm and restrained auras and downcast and fierce eyes, dressed in ill-fitting animal skin clothes, cautiously approached the White Scale Lake. Boss, this is it. A middle-aged man with a thin appearance and dark skin said in a low voice. The leader was tall and had a scar on his face that ran from top to bottom. He looked extremely fierce. He looked at the lake in front of him and felt the faint aura floating on the lake. He couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that this treasure-hunting rat would actually be useful. It actually found a spiritual vein. If we occupy this lake, we will have a place to take root. That the person behind him licked his smiling face and laughed with him. Hey, brother, my treasure-hunting rat is still useful, right? Look, there seems to be an island in this lake. God is really helping us. Huh, you count the majority of the harvest this time. Come on, let's go over and have a look. In the underground cave, Zhou Daoqing took a breath and opened his eyes slightly in the dim light, looking deeply in a certain direction. Chapter 22 Outsiders Intruding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom, there was a loud noise, sharp stones fell to the ground, and the dull sound echoed in the underground cave. Immediately afterwards, a shrill scream echoed. Fuck, there's a fucking trap. The 6th level chi refining monk who was exploring the path ahead had just entered the underground cave and instantly triggered the falling rock formation. In an instant, in the narrow and airtight space, the falling rock formation exerted 120% of its power, and dozens of falling rocks fell from the sky. Even though the monk struggled to resist, his defense was directly broken, and he was seriously injured. The people behind him became alert for a moment and immediately took a few steps back. The scarred man at the head focused his eyes and said sternly, "You have been fooled. There is a formation here. Get out first." But when they turned back, they found that the way they came from had already been blocked by a stone wall. Not only behind him, mysterious lines appeared on the surrounding ground, and earth walls grew rapidly, surrounding them. Several people reacted quickly. Although they were not attacked, their formation was completely broken up. The 6 people were originally gathered together, but they were immediately separated by the earth wall. In a narrow and dark cave, they encountered accidents one after another, which suddenly changed the expressions of several people. In the secret place, a black shadow flashed across the formation, without being noticed by anyone. The scarred man at the head was also the most experienced. After the initial panic, he quickly calmed down and began to carefully examine the surrounding situation. However, the first time he felt the change in the formation, he realized that the situation was not good. His expression immediately changed, and he shouted loudly, "I wonder if your senior is in formation, master." Zhou Daoqing heard the sound but did not react in any way. He still hid in the darkness and controlled the formation with all his heart. he currently has no idea of the other party's identity and purpose, so he naturally doesn't dare to take it lightly. There were thousands of thoughts in his mind. The second elder came here specially a few days ago and specifically asked a few people to pay attention to the Ma family's sneak attack. As a result, only a few days later, someone really sneaked in here secretly. Zhou Daoqing already had doubts about the identities of these people. Is it someone from the Ma family? The location of Balan Lake is hidden. Even most members of the family know that this station exists, but they don't know the specific location. How could the Ma family find it accurately? Could it be? Thousands of thoughts were tumbling in his mind, and Zhou Daoqing's face was extremely ugly. With just one face-to-face meeting, he could already see clearly that the strength and quantity of the people coming were stronger than he imagined. There were 6 people on the other side, and the strongest man, the leader, had reached the 8th level of qi refining. Among the remaining 5 people, 2 have reached the 7th level of qi refining, and 3 have reached the 6th level of qi refining. Such a fighting force, even within the family, is definitely not weak. It is completely enough to build a hunting team, and it is even easier to surround and kill a junior who is at the 7th level of qi refining. Moreover, no matter what the identity of the other party is, he has secretly invaded Balan Lake and entered the training place. He must be someone with evil intentions, and there is no reason to hold back. Under such circumstances, Zhou Daoqing was not interested in talking nonsense with them, he just wanted to get rid of them as soon as possible. After the scarred man asked, there was no sound in the entire cave and it fell into complete silence. After a few breaths, a weaker monk said carefully, "Boss, what is going on? Isn't the other party's identity simple?" That the scarred man breathed heavily and said, "Senior can mobilize formations and has a very good command of formations. There is a high probability that he is an formation master. We may have hit an iron plate. Let's find a way to exit. Call out, stab." Before he finished speaking, a bright white sword flower flashed, illuminating the dark underground space and instantly hit a monk on the 6th level of qi refining. Suddenly a shrill scream echoed in the cave again. Zhou Daoqing understood that the other party was frightened by the formation and had not recovered for a while. He did not pay attention to the grade of the formation, so he was wary of him, but discovering that this is a low-grade formation of the 1st level may predict Zhou Daoqing's true strength. When the time comes to attack him, there will be no chance of winning. Taking advantage of this time, Zhou Dao took action decisively and took the lead in taking out the weaker ones. The advantages of the 3rd level high-grade skill Wutu Kunyue Gong are also clearly demonstrated at this time. Whether it is the quality of spiritual energy or the degree of solidification of mana, it is far from comparable to monks of the same level, let alone the weaker 6th level monks. In a secret sneak attack, he directly eliminated 2 people on the 6th level of qi refining with almost no effort. "Senior, we don't mean to offend, then leave here. I hope senior subordinates will stay." Then the next second, a third scream sounded. The 3 people at the 6th level of qi refining all lost their ability to resist in a short period of time. "Humph, no offense intended. You have already entered my cultivation place, and you still dare to say you have no offense?" Zhou Daoqing deliberately lowered his voice, making his tone low and mature to prevent the other party from discovering any flaws. But the moment he opened his mouth, Zhou Daoqing secretly thought something bad. "I originally wanted to comfort the leader by replying, so that he would be wary and not dare to take action easily, so that I could have time to deal with the other 2 7th level qi refiners," but when he spoke, his position was instantly revealed. The facts were not what he expected. When Zhou Daoqing was exposed for the first time, the scarred man's eyes suddenly lit up, a ferocious look flashed past, and he instantly looked towards the corner where Zhou Daoqing was hiding. "Hey, I finally found you." The cold voice echoed in the darkness, followed by a very fast knife, which directly split the stone wall in front. At the critical moment, Zhou Daoqing knew that he had no way to retreat, so he gritted his teeth and went forward instead of retreating. He used the mist array to cover his body and quickly chopped at the 7th level qi training monk with his sword. While avoiding the attack, he sought an opportunity to counterattack. After the attack failed, the scarred man no longer concealed his intention and said directly, "Don't be afraid, everyone. He is just a kid at the 7th level of qi training. His formation level is only the 1st level lower grade. Just take action to get rid of him. Damn, he is only at the 7th level of Qi training, just like me. I was shocked. I thought he was a strong man at the 8th or 9th level of Qi training. I was alert for so long in vain, that the 2 7th level Qi training monks immediately restrained their panic. Their eyes were still dark, and they began to actively look for the figure of the listener. Zhou Daoqing felt cold sweat on his back. The other party took the initiative to lead him to talk just now, not only to lock his position, but also to detect his strength at the moment of fighting. What's more terrifying is that the other party had already started to cooperate tacitly as soon as they entered the cave and were attacked by the formation. First, they showed weakness to the enemy, then determined their position, tested their strength, and finally revealed their true nature. If Zhou Daoqing was strong, they would probably surrender. If Zhou Daoqing was average, they would definitely attack fiercely. Just like now, Zhou Daoqing's face was gloomy, and he quickly hid in the darkness under the cover of the mist formation. Looking into the cave, the scarred man grinned and sneered, slashing without hesitation, breaking the earth wall formed by the earth defense formation. For a moment, the hard stone collapsed, the earth flew, and a lot of dust rose. However, seeing this scene, Zhou Daoqing did not panic, but a hidden sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 23 My Family. Casual Cultivator. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A few people did not notice that the gravel was scattered on the ground, and it was shaking slightly under the pull of the power of the formation. Humph, with this little trick of yours, do you really think you can stop us? That's ridiculous. After cutting down the earth wall with one strike again, the remaining 3 people gathered together, and the narrow cave became a bit more spacious. The scarred man in the lead had a cold breath, and he took out a luminous stone, and the cave in front of him was illuminated. The ground is covered with a large amount of rubble, all of which are fragments of the Stonefall formation and the Earth Control formation. They have now been completely broken into pieces. Dust is floating in the air, and the fog accompanying the mist formation slightly blocks the view, but through the dust, the scarred man at the head still saw the spiritual spring in front of him at a glance. He was overjoyed and his breathing became a little faster. This is actually a 2nd level spiritual spring. Haha, we made a lot of money this time. We didn't expect to encounter such a good thing. Although the other people around him were more or less injured, the moment they saw Ling Xuan's eyes, they could not stop trembling with excitement. However, the scarred man at the head was not dazzled by joy. Instead, he was extremely calm and turned around to check the area shrouded in fog, looking for Zhou Daoqing. Compared to the previous caution, the scarred man was much bolder at this time. After a simple confrontation, he had already determined the enemy's strength. Although he is not weak, compared with the 6 of them, he is still far behind. Junior, do you think hiding in the fog will be useful? With a few first-order formations, do you really think you can be protected? Rather than actively attacking, the scarred man chose to test with words, showing an extremely cautious attitude. However, this is exactly what Zhou Daoqing wants to see. He needs time. Zhou Daoqing's eyes became sharp, and thick spiritual energy covered the cave, controlling the operation of the formation. After a long time, he spoke in a low voice. Through the formation, I have known your strength for a long time, but I did not take the initiative to escape. Don't you want to think about why? Hearing this, the scarred man's expression changed and he looked around cautiously, but did not find anything unusual. The 7th level Qi refining cultivator behind him, after a little panic, found that there was nothing unusual. He couldn't help but became angry and said, "Boy, if you keep talking harshly when you are about to die, I will tear you alive in a moment." However, when he just finished speaking and was about to step forward, he felt his feet sink. His feet seemed to be rooted in the ground, and he stumbled and fell to the ground. What's the situation? What's going on with the dick? What's the problem? Sensing something unusual, they immediately looked at their feet. The next moment, the aura of the formation fluctuated instantly, causing the gravel on the ground to fly upwards. The attack from bottom to top directly hits the sensitive organs of their bodies. The severe pain overwhelms their reason and makes them wail in pain, but his legs were wrapped in gravel and he couldn't move at all. Under normal circumstances, as long as they exerted a little force, they could directly escape the control of the gravel on the ground, but under the severe pain, they had no time to react at all. It's now. Zhou Daoqing's eyes flashed with light, he kicked his legs fiercely, rushed out of the fog in the darkness, and struck the fatal position with each sword. In just one breath, the two 7th-level qi refining monks fell into a pool of blood, and the gurgling blood could not stop flowing out. There were Zhou Daoqing's sword wounds and injuries caused by flying rocks. They were bombarded indiscriminately in a short period of time, and few parts of his body were healthy. Only the scarred man, relying on the strength of the 8th level of qi refining, could barely withstand the first wave of attacks, but he also suffered considerable injuries. However, without the help of others, he may not be stronger than Zhou Daoqing. At least, Zhou Daoqing could easily resist the attack from the scarred man with his thick Wutu spiritual energy, and he was already invincible. At this time, Zhou Daoqing's attack concept was very simple, mainly focusing on defense, to ensure that you are not injured, and continue to use magic weapons and formations to attack. After his improvement of the falling rock formation, the gravel could fly up from the ground and attack the bottom wall at an extremely sinister angle, causing the scarred man who had never seen this kind of trick miserable. His trouser legs were stained with dripping blood, his thighs couldn't stop shaking, his eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes, and his steps kept faltering. When he tried to escape, he found that the hole had been blocked by a formation. Zhou Daoqing was wearing a turtle shell, and his attacks were not powerful, but they were continuous, not giving the scarred man any chance to breathe, and he continued to kill them. Even in the absence of formations, Zhou Daoqing relied on the 3rd-level high-grade skills, and the quality and quantity of his magic power were completely worthy of the scarred man. What's more, now that the situation is changing, and with the assistance of formations, he already has an absolute advantage. In the first battle, Zhou Daoqing did not dare to rush forward. With the idea that no matter how careful he was, he continued to kill for an hour. It was not until he beat the scarred man until he was unconscious from blood loss that Zhou Daoqing stopped what he was doing. 10 minutes later, Zhou Daoqing rode a boat to the mountain forest near the south, found an area where monsters were infested, plundered the 3 corpses, and threw them into the beast's lair. Returning to the cave below, there are still 3 unconscious figures. They were tightly tied and thrown into a pool of blood. They had taken in too much air and outsourced too much. After some inspections, Zhou Daoqing found that among the 6 people, only 3 were completely dead. 2 were at the weak 6th level of qi training, and 1 was at the 7th level of qi training. They were completely not breathing, so he disposed of the bodies directly. As for the remaining 3 people, 1 is at the 8th level of qi training, 1 is at the 7th level, and 1 is at the 6th level. Tie up the 3 people and put them into the formation. If there is any abnormality, they will be killed directly. What are these people? They don't look like people from the Ma family. Zhou Daoqing checked the storage bags of several people and found no clues to prove that they are from the Ma family. All the things added up, there are only 6 first-level magic tools of ordinary quality, more than 200 spirit stones, some first-level natural treasures and monster materials. The only 2 sets of martial arts books are completely different from the Ma family's martial arts. Could it be a hunting team hired by the Ma family? That the characteristics shown by several people made Zhou Daoqing have new doubts. Although these people are not weak in strength and have rich combat experience, they should have fought with wild beasts frequently, but their combat skills and coordination abilities are very rough, and they don't seem to have received professional training. All kinds of signs indicate that they are most likely not from the family. On the contrary, the clothes and appearance of several people are very similar to those of casual cultivators. Zhou Daoqing's eyes flickered as he glanced at the 3 people. Then he snorted coldly and said, "Don't pretend to be dead if you wake up." The scarred man on the ground changed his expression. After a few seconds of pause, he opened his eyes and pulled his hands and feet. He found that he was controlled and sat down helplessly on the ground. Chapter 24, Spiritual Secrets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did the Ma family send you here? Zhou Daoqing asked with a cold voice, his eyes fixed on the scarred man's face, trying to guess from his reaction whether he was from the Ma family, but unexpectedly, the scarred man looked confused, raised his eyebrows, and said feebly, What Ma family? Humph, I will let you go just because you act crazy and act stupid." That the clear sound of the sword sounded, and the long sword weapon was unsheathed and pressed against the scarred man's jaw. With only an inch away, his throat could be slit. In the silent underground cave, one could almost hear the violent beating of the heart. The scarred man swallowed his saliva. Faced with the threat of life and death, he suppressed his fear and explained, "We are not from the Ma family, we are just from the nearby mountains and forests. I am a casual cultivator who accidentally discovered a treasure-hunting rat and found it here after searching for the spiritual energy fluctuations. However, I don't want to accidentally enter my friend's cave. I hope that my friends will be open-minded and let us brothers go." Rogue cultivator, Zhou Daoqing believed a little bit in his heart, but his eyes were still cold. "If you don't find it sooner, you won't find it later. Just after I occupied this place, you discovered it. How can you make me believe what you said?" As he spoke, the sword edge moved forward an inch, stabbing a bloody mark on his neck. The man with the scar was so angry that he didn't dare to say anything. His face was extremely frightened, and he was so frightened that he couldn't speak clearly. What I said is indeed true. We really don't know what the Ma family is." Seeing this situation, Zhou Daoqing had already considered, these people are most likely not from the Ma family, and they are probably casual cultivators who accidentally discovered this place. But regardless of their status, since this happened, there was absolutely no reason to let them go. While thinking about it, Zhou Daoqing's eyes became sharper, and the hand holding the sword became slightly stronger. Feeling the strong killing intent, the man with the scar also guessed it, and his desire to survive was strongly aroused, and he quickly exclaimed, Sir, please spare our lives. We have blind eyes, so let us just let it go." "Let you go?" Zhou Daoqing's expression remained unchanged and he said calmly, "Breaking into my cave, destroying my formation, and intending to kill me, I have no reason to let you go." No, my lord. We broke into the cave without permission. You will definitely not trust us to leave. However, I have a secret technique, which is a spiritual restraint technique. After you use it, Lord, we will naturally obey your orders. Don't worry about us. Leak. The scarred man also knew that there was no room for change in this matter, so he no longer took any chances and revealed his last trump card. Zhou Daoqing was also surprised and asked, "The secret method of mental restraint? Do you have such a thing?" Zhou Daoqing has also heard of the secret method of essence, but this kind of secret method cannot be obtained by monks in the qi refining stage. Divine consciousness and spirit can only be barely touched during the foundation building stage, but not much. Only those who are as powerful as Zifu will officially start to cultivate their spirit. This is an extremely precious and rare technique. Therefore, when the scarred man said that he had a secret method of mental restraint, Zhou Daoqing did have doubts. Seeing Zhou Daoqing's suspicious eyes, the scarred man seemed to see hope. He quickly struggled to get up from the ground and raised his buttocks to face Zhou Daoqing. "Sir, there is a lining on the back of my pants, and there is a secret hidden inside. You can check it out for yourself." Zhou Daoqing's expression changed. Looking at the scarred man's unsightly posture, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. He couldn't bear to look at it. It happened that at this time, another monk at the 7th level of qi refining had also woken up. Zhou Daoqing kicked him unceremoniously. "Go, take out the things." Compared to unlocking the restrictions of a strong person at the 8th level of qi training, Zhou Daoqing was more confident about practicing at the 7th level. Soon, a book made of special leather with only one page appeared in his hand. The tome was very old, with extremely worn edges. It looked like it had gone through a long period of time and was a secret method passed down from a long time ago. Even the name of the secret method has disappeared under the erosion of long years, leaving only the words God and forbidden. Zhou Daoqing then directly called it the forbidden secret method. After briefly checking the contents of the secret law, he realized that it was an extremely profound spiritual secret law, and it was also a special type of spiritual restriction. What is introduced in it is an extremely simple spiritual application method that can plant restrictions in the minds of other monks and thereby control life and death. Qi refining monks can use it. What an ingenious way to use it. Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but sigh. It was simply incredible that a qi refining monk with weak mental power and extremely low mental control could control such a mysterious magic. the scarred man took the initiative to explain, "Sir, I found this in a cave. It should have been left by a certain senior. Is there anything else?" "Well, there are still some spiritual stones, but I have used them in practice, and only one secret method is left. If you don't believe me, you can search me." Zhou Daoqing gave him a disgusted look, and was still a little uncomfortable with the search. However, if this secret method was really effective, it could indeed save a few people's lives. After all, compared to killing all 3 people, leaving them to do things is obviously more cost-effective. The practice of the secret method is not difficult, and Zhou Daoqing has a very high level of understanding. He only needs to understand it a few times and he has already gained a glimpse of the secret method. It only took 2 hours to fully master this spiritual secret method that seemed simple but full of fantastic ideas. A weak ray of spirit was slowly peeled out of his mind, without having much impact on himself. The first experimental subject was a 6th-level weapon refiner who was still in a coma. After waking him up, Zhou Daoqing took the initiative to release his mental barrier, and his mind was unimpeded and extremely smooth. However, in this person's mind, Zhou Daoqing found another similar mental power. It seems that the scarred man has used this secret method to control other people in the team, and the effect seems to be very good. Zhou Daoqing directly took action to erase the mental power left by the scarred man, and then planted his own mental power, and arranged complex restrictions according to the guidance of the secret method. When all this was done, Zhou Daoqing could clearly feel that he could control the life of this cultivator. With just a thought, he could completely activate the mental restriction, thereby completely depriving him of his life. This magical method made Zhou Daoqing marvel. He was even more amazed at the scarred man's luck. He could actually find this ancient secret technique in an ordinary cave, but he didn't know that the scarred man was even more shocked. Seeing that Zhou Daoqing had actually learned the secret technique in such a short time, he was so surprised that he couldn't recover for a long time. Chapter 25, Subjugating the Subordinates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He clearly remembered that when he first obtained the secret method, he spent more than a year studying it and made countless mistakes before he could barely learn it. He didn't expect that the young man in front of him only spent a few hours to completely learn this complicated secret method and succeeded at once. The scarred man looked at Zhou Daoqing with a strange look in his eyes. With the experience of the first success, Zhou Daoqing was more handy and more proficient in the secret method. Using the same method, the spiritual imprint formed by the secret method was also left in the minds of the 7th-level Qi refining cultivator and the scarred man, completely controlling the life and death of the two. In this way, Zhou Daoqing was relieved a lot. At least the 3 people in front of him were no longer threatening, and there was no need to kill them. They could be left to do things for him. One was at the 6th level of Qi refining, one was at the 7th level of Qi refining, and one was at the 8th level of Qi refining. They were definitely a strong force. It just so happens that the island needs some manpower, and now it's much more convenient. Zhou Daoqing glanced at the 3 people, untied them, and asked, "Tell me your identity honestly, why did you come here?" Now that he has completely controlled the few people, he doesn't have to worry about them lying. Zhou Daoqing must confirm their identities again. After the scarred man was untied, he breathed a sigh of relief. He ignored the dust on the ground and found a place to sit down. He said, "Sir, we really didn't lie. We are indeed casual cultivators nearby. My name is Meng Yueshan, the kid in the 7th level of Qi training is Xuanhuan, and the one in the 6th level of Qi training is Zhang Yin." After the 3 people briefly introduced themselves, Zhou Daoqing also had a general understanding of their situation. At this point, they had no reason to lie anymore, and even if they lied, it would be impossible for them to fabricate their identities so perfectly. Zhou Daoqing also believed in his heart that this group of people was probably not from the Ma family. They were indeed casual cultivators in the nearby area, but they accidentally broke into Belan Lake. Rubbing his eyebrows, Zhou Daoqing felt a headache. He didn't expect that he would encounter such an unlucky thing. It was really bad luck, but fortunately, the final result was not bad. Not only did he gain a batch of resources, a book of spiritual secrets, but he also subdued 3 subordinates. But how to arrange these 3 people made Zhou Daoqing feel troubled. "Meng Yueshan, where did you live before?" Do you have your own station? Meng Yueshan shook his head. These days, all the well-known spiritual veins are occupied by major forces, where is our share? Besides, if there are really spiritual veins, we won't have to hunt monsters for a living. Zhou Daoqing nodded when he heard this. The situation was similar to what he thought. Well, then the three of you stay. Hearing this, Meng Yueshan and the other two did not react much. When they were controlled by the spiritual secrets, they were already mentally prepared. Meng Yueshan asked cautiously, "Sir, may I ask if you have left us here, is there anything for us to do?" Zhou Daoqing pondered for a while and said lightly, "Actually, there is nothing big. On weekdays, we are responsible for taking care of the spiritual fields and the spiritual plants in the spiritual fields, and applying rain and fertilizer on time." After finishing, Zhou Daoqing seemed to think of something. He glanced at the three people and continued to add, "In addition, supervise the situation around the island to prevent people with bad intentions from approaching." The three people looked embarrassed. People with bad intentions? They were referring to them. "Don't worry, sir, we will take care of this little thing." Meng Yueshan quickly accepted his new identity and asked tentatively, "Then the three of us, live on the island?" "Well, you go back to the island and repair a few houses by yourself. If there is anything, notify me through the communication stone." With these three people, life is indeed much more convenient. At least the spiritual fields do not need to be managed personally in the future. Just leave it to these three people. The crystal jade rice is a relatively easy to grow spiritual plant. It does not require too many planting skills. Even if the three people do not know the skills of spiritual plants, they can manage it easily. Moreover, with the three people, the island's defense capabilities have been improved to a higher level, and there should be no more attacks on the door in the future. 5 days later, in the quiet underground cave, the communication stone emitted a flickering light. Zhou Daoqing frowned slightly, slowly gathered the Wu Earth spiritual energy around him, and his aura became stronger, like a heavy hill. Looking at the communication stone, it was a message from Meng Yueshan. "My lord, there is a woman outside the island. She said she came to find you. Do you want to let her up?" Zhou Daoqing slapped his head and immediately knew what was going on. He secretly said that he was careless and forgot to tell the three of them about Zhao Yunji and Zhou Daobai's situation. As a result, Zhao Yunji was now blocked outside. When he rushed to the edge of the island, Meng Yueshan and the other two were looking at Zhao Yunji vigilantly. Zhao Yunji's eyes were solemn, the sharp blade in her hand had been unsheathed, and her eyebrows were as cold as ice, as if she was going to fight if she disagreed. When she saw Zhou Daoqing's figure, the coldness between her eyebrows and eyes dissipated a little. "Sir! Sir!" Zhou Daoqing glanced at the three people and directly ordered them to move aside, making way for Zhao Yunji. "Zhou Daoqing, where did you find these three people? Their strength seems to be not simple." Zhao Yunji hesitated for a while, but still asked with doubts. As both were in the late stage of qi refining, Zhao Yunji could see through the strength of Huang Zhuo and Zhang Yin at a glance, and was naturally shocked. Meng Yueshan was at the 8th level of qi refining, which she could not see through. There was only a vague outline, so she was even more shocked. She almost thought that Zhou Daoqing had died. Zhou Daoqing explained casually, "Friend, help me look at the island." "Why did you come over suddenly? What happened?" Seeing that Zhou Daoqing didn't want to say more, Zhao Yunji didn't ask any more questions. He just took a meaningful look and then slowly said, "You should know that I am raising the velvet silkworms of my Zhao family. During the breeding, I need to feed a special spiritual plant called white mulberry. I don't have it in my hand. I need to search for it in the nearby mountains and forests. If I want to find it, you go together. Is it difficult to find? Or is it dangerous?" Zhou Daoqing asked. "It's not difficult to find, but it's a bit far away. To say it's dangerous isn't bad." Zhao Yunji said softly. This call made Zhou Daoqing a little confused. It was not difficult to find and there was no danger. Why should he go with him? Is it possible to actually fall in love? Zhou Daoqing glanced at Zhao Yunji, then touched his beard, secretly thinking that although he was indeed good-looking, only 2 ups and downs had completely made Zhao Yunji want to stop. Seeing Zhou Daoqing's strange look, Zhao Yunji reacted immediately and scolded him coldly and angrily, "Don't think nonsense. It's okay, I understand." "You don't understand." Zhao Yunji couldn't help but rolled his eyes and began to explain. Chapter 26, Eastern Great Wilderness Vein. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course, she didn't roll her eyes shyly, but rather supported her forehead helplessly. After calming down, Zhao Yunji glanced at Meng Yueshan and the other 2 behind her. Zhou Daoqing immediately reacted and waved to the 3 people, signaling them to leave. After seeing them leave, Zhao Yunji regained her composure and said, "I have been thinking about it for a long time these days. The head of the Zhou family asked me to participate in the competition. It's not that the better I perform, the more favor I will get. On the contrary, it may be disadvantageous rather than beneficial." Zhou Daoqing lowered his eyes, and a trace of thought flashed across his eyebrows. "Then what do you think the head of the family means?" Zhao Yunji pondered for a while and said, "After all, I am not a member of the Zhou family. If I show my ability, it will only disgust the Zhou family. What they really want to see, is just me assisting you." After speaking, Zhao Yunji looked at the clear lake, not knowing what she was thinking. Zhou Daoqing glanced at her and was a little surprised. He didn't expect her to think so deeply. Perhaps for people from small families, they have to bear more pressure since childhood, and face the challenge of the survival of the family, so they naturally have more thoughts. After a while, Zhao Yunji said, "Your island is too barren, and the number and quality of spiritual fields are not high. It is difficult to meet the basic requirement of 1,300 pieces throughout the year. So, I want you to participate in the breeding of flower silkworms. You don't need to really help. I will allocate some spiritual stones to you on the grounds of cooperation." Zhou Daoqing raised his eyebrows and said in surprise, "You don't need my help, and then you give me spiritual stones?" "Yes." "You don't need me to take out spiritual stones?" "Yes." "Free food?" "Yes." "Then can you use the flower silk and make me a few sets of inner armor?" Zhao Yunji's forehead veins jumped, and he felt a tightness in his chest. After a long silence, his cheeks flushed, because he was angry. It is not easy to breed flower silkworms. The silk produced each year is not much, and it needs to go through complex processing. In the end, even fewer magic tools can be made. It is precisely because of its scarcity that it is in short supply. Zhao Yunji glanced at the young man in the past and sighed helplessly. How can this be married? This mother is simply here to be a mother and take care of the child. Okay. I'll leave you a set. Zhou Daoqing blinked. He didn't expect that Zhao Yunji had such a good temper and could agree to this. So he raised his eyebrows and said, "Then I have been practicing sluggishly recently. I have 2 or 3 difficult problems that I can't figure out. Can I visit you tonight?" However, before he finished speaking, Zhao Yunji glared at him directly, turned around and left with a wave of her sleeves. She stood on the boat in a green dress, leaving only a clear voice without any emotion. "I will go to find Bai Sankue tomorrow, and you can come to my island to find me tomorrow morning." Zhou Daoqing touched his nose, looked at the figure leaving, and secretly felt lucky in his heart. Exposing Meng Yueshan and the other 2 this time was already a careless act. Fortunately, Zhao Yunji did not ask about it, otherwise it would be difficult to explain. If she went deeper into the island, she would have to expose the 8 acres of first-level middle-grade spiritual field. Fortunately, she was thick-skinned and drove Zhao Yunji away, otherwise it would be difficult to get away with it. However, thinking of what Zhao Yunji said, Zhou Daoqing smiled helplessly, and did not reject her idea. Although he did not want to compete for the so-called quota, nor did he want to be exposed too much, he just wanted to stay on the island and practice peacefully, but Zhao Yunji would not think so. She still had a family behind her, and her own uncertain immortal path, so she naturally needed to consider more. If the road goes smoothly in the future, I can help a little. It's not good to eat and drink for free. Zhou Daoqing was thinking. Meng Yueshan and the other 2 came over and winked at him, glancing at the 3 people. Zhou Daoqing waved his hand. Meng Yueshan and the other two came trotting over, grinning and asking, "Sir, was that my sister-in-law?" Zhou Daoqing looked a little strange. "You are so old, how can you call her sister-in-law?" Meng Yueshan was stunned, pulled the scar on his face, and asked tentatively, "Then, call me sister-in-law. I call you brother." "That's fine." "Ah, no no no." Meng Yueshan hurriedly shook his hand and said with a sad face, "Then I call, the lady." Zhou Daoqing waved his hand and didn't continue to dwell on this issue, but asked, "Do you know a spiritual plant like white mulberry sunflower?" "White mulberry sunflower?" Meng Yueshan thought for a moment and replied, "It should be a first-level middle-grade spiritual plant. There should be none in the nearby area, but it should exist in the unknown mountains farther away. Are there any monsters entrenched near this spiritual plant?" The problem Zhou Daoqing was most worried about was encountering powerful monsters. There are few people around Barren Lake, which is close to the Great East Wilderness. There are many powerful monsters living there. Even the hunting teams of various families need to be very careful. Even if there are 9-level qi refining leaders, there will often be casualties. If 2 juniors with 70% qi refining rush in, the risk factor is very high. At this time, Huang Zhuo suddenly said, "Sir, white mulberry is not a particularly precious spiritual plant, and it will not attract monsters when it grows on its own. However, silkworms often appear around white mulberry, so it will attract some other monsters to prey on it, which may be dangerous." Zhou Daoqing nodded slightly and memorized this information in his mind. "Where is the location? Is it far away?" "It's about 50 kilometers away. If everything goes well, we can get there in half a day." Meng Yueshan replied, then he thought about it and added, "Sir, we can go together tomorrow. We are casual cultivators in this area and are familiar with the nearby environment. Although this area is not too dangerous, there are still many complexities. Case. Especially since you two are both descendants of the family. You are well-dressed and not very strong. You are likely to attract the covetous attention of other casual cultivators. We can handle it even if we are here." After listening to Meng Yueshan's words, Zhou Daoqing's calm eyes suddenly showed a look of thought, and asked, "Are there many other casual cultivators in this area nearby?" Meng Yueshan did not doubt that he was there, and replied, "That's natural. This is the easternmost point of the non-Hunya mortal realm. Going further east, there lies the huge eastern wilderness. There are a lot of unexplored virgin lands, and there are many unexplored virgin lands. A heaven of cultivation. Although the area we are in is still on the edge of the eastern Great Wilderness, there are also many weaker casual cultivators making a living here." Zhou Daoqing nodded silently and didn't say anything more, but he just had some more thoughts in his mind. With the spiritual mysticism, you have the means to control the monks. Is it possible to control a group of casual cultivators using a method similar to the one used to control the 3 men in Meng Yueshan? After all, as Meng Yueshan said, there are many casual cultivators around here. Since the first batch of casual cultivators can discover Barren Lake, then there may be a second batch, a third batch. If there is no strong strength, it must be very danger. Chapter 27 Traveling Together. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And now, the family needs to spend most of its energy dealing with the Ma family. It is unable to provide help from Barren Lake and must rely on its own efforts. Predicting possible disasters is also a very necessary thing, or in other words, it is something that has to be considered in the next period of time. Burying his thoughts deeply in his heart, Zhou Daoqing already had some plans. After a moment of silence, he looked at Meng Yueshan and said, "The 3 of you will go with me tomorrow, just to take a look at the nearby environment." The next day, early morning, a light mist enveloped the lake, and from time to time there were traces of white-scaled bass swimming by, causing light ripples on the water. Zhou Daoqing took Meng Yueshan and 3 others by boat to Zhao Yunji's island. Meng Yueshan whispered, "Sir, if you don't look carefully, your island is really not as good as this one." Zhao Yunji's island has a larger area, flatter terrain, and richer aura on the surface, and its environment is better than Zhou Daoqing's island in all aspects. Zhou Daoqing just smiled. If he hadn't accidentally discovered the spiritual spring eye, the environment on his island would indeed be average. As for why he chose that one, it was just for the sake of purity. As long as the location was concealed enough, even without the spiritual spring eye, he could still rise with the help of formations and techniques, but with the Lingquan eye, everything becomes easier. When he arrived near the island, Zhao Yunji was already ready. He changed out of his elegant Xing-yi and wore a black outfit underneath and a loose robe outside. As expected, Zhao Yunji is several years older and has much more experience in traveling than Zhou Daoqing. The costume is for convenience in traveling and fighting, but it is also a magic weapon with certain defensive capabilities, while the robe is to cover up the graceful body and avoid unnecessary trouble due to figure and appearance. Zhao Yunji put his luggage on his back and boarded the boat with his magic weapon, saying, "Let's go." Zhou Daoqing glanced at the bulging luggage behind him and asked, "What did you bring with you? It's such a big package." Zhao Yunji straightened his hair and said softly, "Some daily necessities, as well as elixirs, talismans and the like. You should rarely go out. These things are necessary." "Then why don't you put it in the storage bag?" Zhao Yunji was about to say, "Which junior can afford a storage bag?" In the blink of an eye, Zhou Daoqing saw 2 storage bags hanging on his waist, which looked like they contained a lot of things. One storage bag was given by grandfather Zhou Xuanhuan, and the other was snatched from Meng Yueshan. Although Zhou Daoqing has no experience, Meng Yueshan has rich experience, so he has to bring all the items he needs to carry, and even prepares more things. The only thing missing was elixirs, talismans, and the like. Due to the lack of money, they didn't buy them for the time being, but fortunately, Meng Yueshan and the other 3 had some, which they could barely spare. Zhao Yunji pursed his lips, took off his luggage, and threw it into Zhou Daoqing's hands. "Just put it together. Remember not to show your wealth when you are outside, so as not to be targeted by the group of casual cultivators and cause trouble." Meng Yueshan touched his nose and didn't dare to say anything. After all, they were just those casual cultivators. According to the information Zhao Yunji learned, Baisangkue is in the northeast of Balan Lake, which is similar to the location mentioned by Meng Yueshan. Zhou Daoqing didn't say much, and the 4 of them went straight on the road. Most of the mountains here are in undeveloped areas, and the terrain is wild and dangerous. Because there are few families and forces nearby, the surrounding monsters are rarely cleared away, so traces of being touched can be seen everywhere. Using the magic weapon to open a path, within just a few kilometers, I encountered a demonic beast that was in the middle stage of qi refining. However, facing a few people, I naturally couldn't get any benefits. As long as the weaker Huangzhou takes action, the problem can be easily solved. At this time, Zhao Yunji also had a deeper understanding of the strength of Meng Yueshan's 3 people, 1 each at the 6th, 7th and 8th levels of qi refining. Although this strength is not very strong for ordinary forces, it is definitely not weak, and it can already sustain some small scenes. Zhao Yunji asked in a low voice, "Who are they?" "They don't look like members of the Zhou family, but rather like casual cultivators." Zhou Daoqing did not hide anything and said directly, "It is indeed a casual cultivator nearby who accidentally met me. He was impressed by my strength and charm and chose to submit to the Zhou family." Zhao Yunji didn't pay attention to the joke, but took a deep look at Zhou Daoqing, but suddenly she felt that there seemed to be some mystery surrounding the young man in front of her, which she could not see through. She couldn't help but recall that when the Zhao family was discussing who to marry her to, they had taken stock of the children within the Zhou family. However, the main discussion at that time was with members of the Zhou family's generation. After all, no one expected that the head of the Zhou family would let her marry a junior from the Taoist generation. However, the situation of the Zhou Jiadao generation was also discussed during the process. Among the Dao generation, there are currently only 13 of them. The only ones who can be considered talented are the eldest Zhou Daobai, Lao Sisi Daoqi, and Lao Liuzhou Daoqing. It's just that among the 3, Zhou Daoqing's cultivation level is not as good as Zhou Daobai's, and his cultivation skills are not as good as Zhou Daoqi's, so he ranks last among the 3. I just didn't expect that in the end, the head of the Zhou family, Zhou Changyi, would defy all opinions and select Zhou Daoqing as the marriage partner. Zhao Yunji vaguely seemed to have noticed something strange about Zhou Daoqing, but if Zhou Daoqing knew what she was thinking, he would only reply, "You are thinking too much." It is precisely because Zhou Daoqing has no advantages that even if he marries Zhao Yunji, It will not have much impact on the Zhou family, so this arrangement is made. The group did not move very fast, and it took most of the day to finally arrive near the destination. The mountains and jungles here are very dense, the terrain has become particularly steep, and the probability of monsters appearing is gradually increasing. Fortunately, Meng Yueshan and the other two are experienced, and they have avoided many dangers along the way. And they also have unique methods to deal with many monsters, otherwise, Zhou Daoqing and Zhao Yunji should have taken a lot of detours. It should be nearby. I have seen by Sankue before, but it may be a bit troublesome to look for it now. Huang Zhuo wiped the sweat from his forehead and spit casually, showing his bandit spirit. Returning to this mountain range is the world where they, a group of casual cultivators, can truly adapt to, and their aura has changed a lot. Zhou Daoqing has been constantly adapting to the wild environment for half a day, and has learned a lot from Meng Yueshan and the other two. Zhao Yunji climbed up a boulder and scanned the surrounding terrain, looking for areas where white mulberry may be found. As the Zhao family's unique secret recipe, Zhao Yunji is also a genius of the Zhao family. He has received a good education since childhood and knows all this knowledge. Soon, the target was found. That area is flat and dry, facing the sun, and the soil nearby is also suitable for the growth of white mulberry. Let's go and take a look. Chapter 28 Soul Devouring Ant Colony. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as Zhao Yunji was about to stand up, he was stopped by Meng Yueshan, who was standing beside him, and even pulled him back. Not only Meng Yueshan, but also Huang Zhuo and Zhang Yin on the side were looking sharply ahead. Zhou Daoqing noticed something unusual about them and asked, "Did something happen?" Meng Yueshan swallowed his saliva and said with a trembling voice, "Look, do you see the entrance of the cave in front? That is the cave of the second-level monster, the spirit-devouring ant colony." Hearing this, Zhou Daoqing's pupils shrank instantly, and the information about the spirit-devouring ant colony emerged in his mind. This is a second-level spirit insect monster that is not strong individually, but usually appears in groups. Even ordinary foundation building experts can't. Don't dare to provoke easily. This special ant colony has an almost terrifying greed for any spiritual material, and will eat everything up if it comes into contact with it, especially items with high spiritual energy concentration such as monk bodies, magic weapons, elixirs, and talismans. Relying on the huge numbers, through the terrifying insect sea tactics, carrying out continuous attacks, devouring and gnawing the flesh and mana, dozens of foundation building experts may be hunted by the ant colony. If you were targeted by a powerful second-level monster, you might still be able to escape. But if you are targeted by a swarm of spirit-devouring ants, you will definitely be chewed up to the point where no bones are left. If you encounter this kind of monster in the wild and attract the attention of the ant colony, there is almost no possibility of escape. Zhou Daoqing suddenly understood that no wonder the three Meng Yueshan were so nervous, because if they were not careful, all 5 people present might be killed here, and no one would be spared. Thinking of this, the breathing of the 5 people present became rapid. Meng Yueshan swallowed and lowered his voice, "We can't stay here any longer. Let's retreat slowly. We must not attract the attention of the ants." The others nodded silently and squatted down quietly, making as little noise as possible. Fortunately, everyone has not completely entered the living range of the spirit-devouring ant colony. They are currently several hundred meters apart. As long as they are careful, it is still possible to stay away from this area. If you get any closer, it will be really dangerous. It took a few breaths to get here, but it took a full 2/4 of an hour to get back. It wasn't until he was 2 or 3 kilometers away that Zhou Daoqing breathed a long sigh of relief and felt that his breathing was much easier. Meng Yueshan and the other 3 fell to the ground with a pop sound. "Grandma, I'm so stupid. I've really seen a ghost. How could there be such a ghost thing? It's really unlucky." Huang Zhuo leaned on the tree stump, cursed and said, "Who said it wasn't true? I almost died here. We wander around this area every day. How come we didn't know there was a colony of spirit-devouring ants there?" Zhou Daoqing and Zhao Yunji were not much better. They took out 2 or 3 water bags from their storage bags, threw one to Meng Yueshan and the others, gave one to Zhao Yunji, and kept one for themselves. Then they raised their heads and drank 2 mouthfuls. Stop complaining, just have fun wandering around a group of spiritual insects like this and come out intact. Apart from the initial fear, Zhou Daoqing's mood recovered and he became much calmer. Meng Yueshan regained his senses and analyzed carefully. We often hunt wild beasts in this area, but we have never seen a colony of spirit-devouring ants, nor have we heard of the existence of such monsters. The group of spirit-devouring ants we just met, it is most likely a new one, and I think the hole I have learned is not very big, and the soil is pale white, so it is very likely that it is just an ant colony in the qi refining period. A first-level spirit-devouring ant colony? That's not something we can deal with. Zhao Yunji frowned. However, there was a hint of greed in Huang Zhuo's eyes. I heard that although the spirit-devouring ant colony is terrifying, it is also an extremely precious spiritual insect. There are many treasures of heaven and earth in the nest. Snapped. Meng Yueshan slapped Huang Zhuo on the head fiercely and cursed angrily. How dare you even think about this thing? Are you too tired of living? Oh. Treasures from heaven and earth? Zhou Daoqing's eyes lit up. He looked over curiously, and asked, "It's okay, let's talk about it." Huang Zhuo rubbed his head, and after hearing Zhou Daoqing's speech, he said with relief, "The spirit-swallowing ants swallow the pure spiritual energy, so they will secrete a kind of spiritual nectar, which has extremely pure and rich spiritual energy. After absorbing it, it can quickly increase its strength. And it has a certain effect in recovering injuries. Besides, this is not the most precious thing." Huang Zhuoyue said more enthusiastically, lowering his voice, "I heard that some powerful monks can tame this kind of spirit worm for their own use as a means of combat, so the eggs of swallowing spirit ants are also extremely precious." This was the first time Zhou Daoqing heard about it, and he was shocked. Domestication spirit? A method of controlling beasts. Seeing Zhou Daoqing's interest, Meng Yueshan also explained, "Indeed, the Bailing Men, a force in the Purple Mansion, is famous for its beast control methods, which are similar methods, but we should not think about it. This thing is too dangerous, even if only the strength in the qi refining stage is not something we can touch." Zhou Daoqing nodded. Meng Yueshan and others were more experienced in this regard. Logically speaking, casual cultivators are the most greedy group of people. No matter whether there is danger or not, as long as there are cultivation resources, there will be casual cultivators. If even casual cultivators dare not touch it, it is enough to illustrate the danger of this matter. Several people once again turned their goals back to looking for Baisankue. In the nearby area, white mulberry is not a particularly precious and rare spiritual plant. Although it takes some effort to find it, it is not particularly troublesome. After taking some long detours, Meng Yueshan relied on his own experience to find some white mulberry trees. Although the number was not large, it could be transplanted, which would solve Zhao Yunji's urgent need. After doing all this, it was almost evening. Zhao Yunji looked at the sky and said with some worry, "It may be too late to rush back to Belan Lake today, and we may have to live in the wild." Zhou Daoqing looked around and finally looked at Meng Yueshan. Meng Yueshan was also sensible. He knew that it was his turn to take action again. He was happy to be able to show his value in front of Zhou Daoqing. "Sir, when we were casual cultivators before, we often lived in the wild, but the environment was relatively bad. I hope you too can endure it as much as possible." Zhou Daoqing waved his hand. "It doesn't matter, as long as you have a place to live." Neither he nor Zhao Yunji were spoiled, so they naturally didn't care too much about these. Meng Yueshan took advantage of the sky before it was completely dark, found a hidden cave, and easily killed the blue wolf monster in it, and then occupied it. The three cooperated tacitly and had a clear division of labor. Huang Zhuo skillfully handled the blue wolf corpse to avoid attracting the attention of other monsters. Zhang Yin found some special spiritual herbs nearby to get rid of the fishy smell in the cave, making it easier to live there at night. Meng Yueshan went into the cave to investigate, to determine if there were any other dangers, and to check if there were any natural treasures in the cave. Surprisingly, Meng Yueshan soon found 2 earth spirit grasses deep in the cave and gave them to Zhou Daoqing. Chapter 29, Building a Valley Station. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The soil essence grass is the spiritual plant that Zhou Daoqing planned to buy seeds before. but gave up because of insufficient spiritual stones. This kind of spiritual plant is of great benefit to the cultivation of earth attribute monks. It can release pure earth attribute spiritual energy, which is exactly what Zhou Daoqing needs, so he naturally accepts it without hesitation. That night, Zhou Daoqing and the other 5 rested in a cave. However, it's more accurate to say that it was just a one-night stay, rather than a night's sleep. The 3 of Meng Yueshan were guarding outside, watching the bonfire in the valley and being wary of the monsters around them. There was an accident last time. Zhou Daoqing and Zhao Yunji in the cave were also unable to rest peacefully. They were also always vigilant and finally practiced all night. The next day, as soon as the sky got slightly brighter, Zhou Daoqing and the others immediately set off and spent most of the day returning to Barren Lake. It was almost noon before we returned successfully. During this trip, Zhao Yunji collected some white mulberry flowers to facilitate silkworm rearing in the future. Zhou Daoqing obtained 2 first-grade high-grade soil essence grasses and some monster materials. The harvest was not much. In addition, an extremely dangerous colony of spirit-devouring ants was discovered, which Zhou Daoqing kept in mind. After returning to the island, Zhou Daoqing suddenly had an idea in his mind. During this trip, the 3 Meng Yueshan showed extremely rich experience, especially their abilities in hunting monsters and surviving in the wild. When they were in the wild environment, they showed a completely different state from usual. Since they have this ability, it is indeed a waste to keep them on the island. Zhou Daoqing thought in his mind, there is not much work on the island. At most, it is watering and fertilizing, and by the way, beware of monks with evil intentions approaching. Zhou Daoqing can do things like watering and fertilizing by himself, and he even knows more than Meng Yueshan and the other 3. As for being wary of foreign monks, you can actually do this even if you don't stay on the island. You just need to have 3 people stationed outside Barren Lake. On weekdays, I hunt wild beasts in this area to earn spiritual stones, and at the same time, I also prevent others from approaching here. With this in mind, Zhou Daoqing called Meng Yueshan and the others over. After 2 days and 1 night of getting along, the 2 parties have become quite familiar with each other, and the relationship is not as rigid as it was at first. Sir, do you have anything to do? Meng Yueshan said respectfully. Zhou Daoqing said calmly, Old Meng, how about I find a new place for you outside Barren Lake? You usually make a living by hunting monsters as before, and help me monitor the surrounding situation. That I originally thought that if the 3 of them had the opportunity to escape from their own control, they would happily agree, but unexpectedly, the 3 Meng Yueshan looked at each other with embarrassed expressions. Zhou Daoqing frowned and said, Is there any problem? Do you want to stay here? Meng Yueshan scratched his head. Said, Sir, you don't know something. In fact, a large part of the reason why casual cultivators have low cultivation is because of their living environment. They do not have the strength to occupy spiritual veins, so they can only wander in the wild. If you can live in an area with strong spiritual energy, no one wants to leave. After saying this, Zhou Daoqing understood immediately. It's not that casual cultivators really like to live a wandering life without a fixed address. They only do this if they really have no choice. If they really found a spiritual vein suitable for cultivation, they would have become the king of the mountain and developed into a family or power. Who would like to be a vagabond when they have nothing to do? This is why Meng Yueshan knew that the island had been occupied, but still resolutely carried out a sneak attack, and did not retreat even after discovering that Zhou Daoqing was an array master. It's because the meaning represented by spiritual veins is so important. This means that they can completely get rid of their original identity and become a dominant force. Zhou Daoqing thought about it for a long time, but in the end he did not change his mind and said, I will arrange the spirit gathering array for you and introduce some spiritual veins to you. Follow my plan. Hearing Zhou Daoqing's decisive tone, Meng Yueshan had no choice but to agree. He could vaguely see that his young master also had an extremely domineering personality. Since Zhou Daoqing made such a decision, he must have carefully considered it and would not make changes easily. Zhou Daoqing took Meng Yueshan directly to the mountains south of Barren Lake. There is no outward passage to the south. It can only be climbed over here. The 3 men from Meng Yu Mountain climbed over it. After crossing the mountain, there is a steep mountain range behind, and then there is a valley with lush plants growing in a very complex environment. However, when you reach the bottom of the valley, the terrain becomes relatively flat. but the spiritual energy is still not strong. If you practice here, it will most likely be difficult to break through to the 9th level of Qi refining before the age of 70. No wonder Meng Yueshan disliked the weak spiritual energy outside and wanted to stay on the island. Zhou Daoqing looked at it and asked, Meng Yueshan, what do you think of building a station near here? Meng Yueshan was absent-minded, but still replied, the terrain is flat, the location is hidden, and the area in the valley is not small. It is completely enough to build a power. But the core issue is the spiritual vein. Don't worry about the spiritual pulse, I will take care of it. Zhou Daoqing interrupted him directly, already having some ideas in his mind. Climbing up the mountain again, Zhou Daoqing measured from a high place, calculated the position of the island and the valley outside, determined the general direction, and drew a sketch. The valley is not far from Balan Lake. Although it seems to be completely separated, it is only because the mountain is extremely high and steep, and it is very difficult to climb over. But in fact, the straight line distance is only a quarter of an hour. Zhou Daoqing drew a line on the sketch and pointed and said, Meng Yueshan, you and Xuanhuan and Zhang Yin should spend some effort in the next few days to open a passage between the valley and Balan Lake through this line. After that, Zhou Daoqing looked at Meng Yueshan with extremely sincere eyes, only to see that the corner of his mouth twitched, and he almost fell to the ground with dizziness. Sir, your mission, are you kidding me? Zhou Daoqing raised his eyebrows. Is this a very troublesome thing? Just use the magic tool to dig, the actual distance is actually very close. Meng Yueshan said with a sad face, Sir, digging is one part, but it is not an easy thing to find the path you arranged underground accurately. Zhou Daoqing glanced at him, are you stupid? Is the treasure hunting rat that found my cave a place for nothing? Meng Yueshan was stunned, touched his head that had not been washed for a long time, and exclaimed, it seems to be possible. Zhou Daoqing threw the sketch to Meng Yueshan and arranged, if you figure it out, do it quickly. When the time comes, I will lead the spiritual vein and you can move here to live. Chapter 30 Purchase Materials. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Meng Yueshan and his two companions were quite clever. They used the treasure hunting rat's sensitivity to spiritual energy to determine the shortest path between the island and the valley outside. Next, it was a relatively easy but time-consuming excavation. This project lasted for a whole week. Meng Yueshan and his two companions worked day and night and tried their best to successfully dig a passage in the mountain that was only for one person to enter and exit. After it was opened, the entrance height was level with the surface of Balan Lake, and the lake water directly poured into it and flowed toward the valley outside. All this was already in Zhou Daoqing's plan. In the valley outside, a pool had been dug in advance, about 10 feet wide, which could be used to store lake water. Once the passage was opened, the pool in the valley was directly filled with lake water. Later, Zhou Daoqing had the idea of spiritual veins. Since the spiritual liquid flowing out of the spiritual spring, I can form a first-level middle-grade spiritual vein after entering Balan Lake. Can a new spiritual vein be artificially created? Zhou Daoqing thought it was feasible. As long as the route is arranged and a small spiritual liquid is let out, it can flow directly into the channel dug in the mountain, and then flow into the pool outside, thus artificially creating a spiritual vein, and it is not very difficult to operate, as long as the spiritual liquid does not spread when passing through Balan Lake. The natural spiritual vein in Balan Lake has actually spread completely, making the entire Balan Lake full of spiritual energy, which is not a good phenomenon. On the one hand, large-scale spiritual energy fluctuations are likely to attract the attention of other cultivators, thereby attracting foreign enemies, resulting in reduced concealment and safety of Balan Lake. On the other hand, it will also greatly reduce the concentration of spiritual energy and waste a lot of spiritual energy. Therefore, when Zhou Daoqing created this spiritual vein, he planned to change to a more spiritual energy-saving method. However, this method requires some high-quality materials, which need to be purchased in Beifeng City. Zhou Daoqing thought about it and felt that he really needed to go to Beifeng City recently, in addition to the materials for guiding the spiritual vein. The formation materials also need to be supplemented. The last batch of array materials has been used up, and with his amazing comprehension, he has been able to skillfully arrange a first-level low-grade array. Now it is time to get in touch with a first-level middle-grade array. The top first-level middle-grade array can reach the late stage of qi refining, barely catching up with the current strength, and can really assist in combat. Zhou Daoqing called Huang Zhou and Zhang Yin and ordered, Huang Zhou, Zhang Yin, go to Baihe market and buy some things for me. As he spoke, he took out the spirit stone from the storage bag and threw it directly to the two. Huang Zhou did not ask, but just said, okay, sir, what do you need to buy specifically? I will make a list for you, just buy according to it. Zhou Daoqing took out a pen and paper, listed the materials he needed on it, and then handed it to Huang Zhou, and then said, be smart when the time comes, go to several different shops to buy. Although, in the process of listing the materials for the formation, Zhou Daoqing has already messed up the materials for different formations, and even if ordinary cultivators see all the materials, they can't find any clues at all, but for the sake of safety, it is better to buy them separately as much as possible. At the same time, Zhou Daoqing has also calculated the prices of all the materials, just enough to use up all the spirit stones. Among them, a special kind of wood is needed to pull the spirit veins, the spirit sealing wood. It is generally used to make boxes, which can store the overall natural materials and treasures to prevent the dissipation of spiritual energy. The price is medium, and it takes about 50 spirit stones. In addition, buying 2 sets of first-level low-grade falling rock formations costs about 90 spirit stones, which is more expensive than the last time, because the materials for the formation this time are slightly different. The array materials purchased last time were mainly used to arrange the array on the spot. This time, they were used to refine the array disk. Since Zhou Daoqing was not convenient to arrange the array, he could only settle for the second best and earn spirit stones by selling array disks. Of course, this is also the way most array masters earn spirit stones. After all, array disks are more convenient to use, can be carried with you, and arranged in different terrains. They are much more powerful than talismans and can be used multiple times. Many hunting teams of various forces are willing to equip 1 or 2 sets of arrays if conditions permit, which greatly improves combat power. If there are multiple 9th-level qi refining cultivators, using first-level upper-grade arrays to besiege second-level monsters, there is a certain chance that they will be hunted to death, which is enough to show the power of the array. So this time, Zhou Daoqing plans to refine 2 sets of first-level lower-grade array disks, and try to sell them initially, so as to open up a new channel for obtaining spirit stones. Finally, there will be about 80 spirit stones left, and Zhou Daoqing plans to buy a first-level middle-grade array. As for the type of formation, Zhou Daoqing thought about it again and again, and finally chose a formation called Golden Sword Formation, a formation dedicated to attack and killing. Under the full control of the formation master, the power of the instant burst is extremely strong, and it can even be as strong as the 7th-level qi refining cultivator. Because Zhou Daoqing practiced the Wu Tu Kun Yugong, his physical strength, defense ability, sustained combat ability, total mana and recovery ability are all top-notch, but the only thing he lacks is the ability to attack, and this formation can just make up for this deficiency. Huang Zhou and Zhang Yin are experienced, and there is no danger for them to go to Beifeng City as a team, so Zhou Daoqing can rest assured. As for whether they will escape, Zhou Daoqing is not worried at all. The function of spiritual magic is not only to control their life and death in face-to-face situations, but also to be effective at any time, no matter how far away they are. Zhou Daoqing can control their lives with just one thought, and even running away is useless. What's more, Zhou Daoqing did not treat them badly during their time living on the island, and their lives were even much more comfortable than when they were casual cultivators. More than half a month later, Huang Zhou and Zhang Yin returned smoothly, earlier than Zhou Daoqing expected. Sir, I have bought all the materials you asked for. We negotiated the price and left a dozen spiritual stones. They are all here. With that said, Huang Zhou took out a storage bag and handed it directly to Zhou Daoqing. Zhou Daoqing swept his mind away and briefly checked the materials. After confirming that they were correct, he took action and patted Huang Zhou's shoulder. Well done. After the spiritual veins are arranged, I will find a place with strong spiritual energy. Cave. Huang Zhou was flattered. Thank you, sir, for the reward. As a casual cultivator, her biggest wish was to have a stable place to practice with strong cultivation. The reward given by Zhou Daoqing was undoubtedly what she longed for most. Zhou Daoqing waved his hand and started to arrange it directly without wasting time. After all, the journey of cultivation may seem long, but in fact it is like a fleeting cloud. If you slack off even a little bit, you will not be able to see the path to immortality.